Hello to all the classic people that are returning. I'm glad you're back. I want to welcome any new visitors and let you know that there will be spoilers ahead. Today on Classic Movie Review, we are taking on The Muppet Christmas Carol 1992. I've been waiting to get to this movie for a while. It may be shocking to you, but I didn't grow up with the Muppets. I'm too old. But every time I read something about this movie, all I hear is that this is the ultimate version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. I've reviewed a few of these already. A Christmas Carol 1938, Scrooge 1988, and the WKRP episode Bah Humbug. I'm a big fan of Michael Caine, so I sat down to watch these Muppets, and this is what I found out. The film has a 7.7 rating on IMDb.com, which is not too bad for an adult story made generally for children. On RottenTomatoes.com, the film has a 76% on the tomato meter and a solid audience score of 86%. I think New York Times film critic Janet Maslin missed the point in her December 11, 1992 review saying, in part, quote, "The Muppet Christmas Carol is not one of those clever children's films that keeps adult escorts from gazing longingly at the exit sign. What you expect? Muppets. Is pretty much what you get." Michael Caine stars as Scrooge, playing the role enthusiastically and well, but when the film's target audience watches the opening credits, don't be surprised if Fozzie Bear gets a bigger hand than any grown-up could. In this one, some fancy special effects are also used to heighten the audience appeal of the original material. Christmas Past is a small, eerie, wide-eyed nymph, and Christmas Present a chortling giant. Much of the music is also on the saccharine side, but little children should like that reasonably well, just as they enjoy crowded scenes featuring Muppet vegetables and other talking toys. The production design offers a droll collection of snowy English rooftops and atmospheric streets, unquote. Michael Caine is astounding in this role, and I'll discuss that more in the conclusions. Actors. The undeniably great actor Michael Caine played the role of Scrooge. Caine was first covered in another of his greats, The Man Who Would Be King, 1975. At this point, I'm not prepared to go into every puppet an individual controlled or the many voices they did. Let's leave it with they are super talented performers and artists. Dave Goelitz puppeted the Great Gonzo as Charles Dickens and Scrooge's ghost partner, Robert Marley. There are a total of 3 partners in this version. Steve Whitmire puppeted Kermit the Frog playing Bob Cratchit, Rizzo the Rat, and Bean Bunny. Jerry Nelson puppeted Tiny Tim, ghost partner Jacob Marley, and the ghost of Christmas Present. Frank Oz puppeted Miss Piggy playing Emily Cratchit, Fozzie Bear, who was Fozziewig, Sam the Eagle as a headmaster, and Animal. If you want to support the show, drop by our merchandise store where you can get shirts like this, where you can get cups like this. Story. A very familiar story. The credits roll as the camera pans downward to show snow-covered rooftops in Victorian London. The crowd below consists of Muppets and humans, but the humans mainly inhabit the background. Vendors are selling Christmas turkeys as the holiday is near. One of the shops is called Duncan and Kentworth. This is a nod to Duncan Kentworth, one of the creators of Fraggle Songs 1983. The Fraggles are a bane to my existence. Charles Dickens, the Great Gonzo, and Rizzo the Rat are selling apples. Dickens introduces the movie with the help of Rizzo. Dickens begins telling that the Marley brothers are dead. In life, the brothers were partners with Ebenezer Scrooge, Michael Caine. Scrooge comes around the corner and darkens the mood. A team of Muppets sing about the cold-heartedness of Scrooge. The song tells that Scrooge is a vicious and cheap slumlord. Scrooge arrives at the counting house of Scrooge and Marley. Dickens uses Rizzo to clean the window so he can watch the goings-on inside. Mr. Applegate is waiting to ask Scrooge about his past due payments on his mortgage. Scrooge ignores the man and goes directly to his head clerk, Bob Cratchit, Kermit the Frog. Scrooge ignores Applegate's pleas and tosses the man into the street. The other clerks, all rats, jump back to work in their ledger books. This interaction puts Scrooge in the mood to send eviction notices the next day. Cratchit reminds Scrooge that the next day is Christmas, making this day Christmas Eve. Scrooge thinks people spending money on Christmas is a frivolity. Cratchit asks for more coal for the fire and Scrooge threatens to fire the whole bunch of them.
Yes, Mr. Cratchit.
If you please, Mr. Scrooge, the bookkeeping staff would like to have an extra shovel full of coal for the fire.
Our assets are frozen.
How would the bookkeepers like to be suddenly unemployed?
Heat wave.
Scrooge's only living relative, his nephew Fred, Stephen McIntosh, arrives to invite his uncle to Christmas dinner. Rizzo gets knocked into the snow. Scrooge looks down on his nephew for being poor. Two Muppets collecting for charity, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker, come to ask Scrooge for a donation. He rudely dismisses the men, saying they are poorhouses and debtors' prisons that he already pays for with his taxes. He also says that if they die, it will decrease the surplus population. The homeless Bean Bunny comes to the shop door, hoping to receive a donation from Scrooge for a carol he sings. Scrooge throws a Christmas wreath at the bunny. Cratchit is elected by the rats to ask Scrooge for Christmas Day off from work. Cratchit explains that there will be no other businesses open for them to work with. Scrooge allows them the day off, but it pains him terribly to do so. Scrooge leaves for his home. Cratchit and the rats sing as they close down the shop and start their Christmas celebrations. Outside, the penguins are having an ice skating party. It makes much more sense than stuffy Victorians trying to slide on ice in front of the church. Rizzo crashes into the trash. At the song's end, Cratchit sees a comet fly across the sky. Apparently, this is a repeated motif in Muppet movies. I thought it was an omen that warned of death because Bean Bunny is shown shivering outside in the cold. At home, Scrooge gets his first indication that this is a special night when he sees the face of his long-dead partner Jacob Marley, Statler, on the door knocker. This shakes Scrooge up, and he searches his apartment, the way you do when you're home alone at night and you hear a noise. Jacob and Robert Marley, Statler and Waldorf, appear in Scrooge's bedchambers. They are wearing the chains they have forged in life through their cruel and uncaring ways. The pair are accompanied by wailing cash boxes as a tribute to Bob Marley and the Wailers. The pair sing about the sinister deeds they have done in the name of business. They tell Scrooge he is doomed and eventually tell him that he will be visited by 3 ghosts at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 3 a.m. In this movie, there are a total of 5 ghosts on Christmas Eve. And what I believe is the most implausible part of this whole story, Scrooge goes to sleep after being visited by ghosts. Rizzo worries that the story might scare the children in the audience, but Dickens says it's classic. At 1 a.m., the clock bell rings and the ghost of Christmas past arrives. This ghost is supposed to be a child. Still, the construction in a tank of water for filming, the eerie eyes, the childlike voice, the way she's green screen plastered onto the film just comes off as exceedingly creepy. The ghost of Christmas past flies Scrooge to his past as Dickens and Rizzo follow along by holding a dangling rope. Scrooge is shown his lonely childhood without Christmas vacations. Later, he is taken to the site of his apprenticeship at the Fozziwig and Mom rubber chicken factory. Fozziwig, Fozzie Bear, is throwing a Christmas party for his staff. The young Scrooge is more concerned with money than the party. Rizzo's tail catches fire, and Dickens pushes him into a freezing bucket of water. The Marley brothers work at this factory as well. The band has Animal on drums and the Swedish chef cooking. Later at the party, Scrooge meets Belle, Meredith Braun. Scrooge and Belle become an item, but Scrooge's concern with money causes the relationship to deteriorate after a couple of years. The ghost of Christmas past takes Scrooge to the Christmas Eve breakup of the couple. At this point, a song was cut from the movie, but it has been restored in most new media. However, the copy I got from iTunes didn't include the song. The song was removed because Disney chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg considered it too sad for young kids. I found a copy on YouTube and watched it. It clarifies why Belle broke up with Scrooge and is an extraordinarily touching moment. Belle sings facing away from the young Scrooge, and he gently touches her a couple of times. However, it seems he doesn't know how or care to break through to Belle. Near the song's end, older Scrooge, Michael Caine, steps behind Belle and shows the pain of the breakup. Dickens and Rizzo are sobbing. Scrooge sobs and asks to be shown no more. Find a version with the song still included. Scrooge is returned to his bedchamber. The clock chimes for 2 a.m., and the ghost of Christmas Present arrives. That's one of my favorite puns. The ghost of Christmas Present is a giant, jolly puppet. The ghost comes with copious amounts of food and represents a time of plenty. The ghost of Christmas Present is absent-minded and repeats himself as he only focuses on Christmas. The ghost shrinks down to human size. Dickens and Rizzo get knocked into the snow again. The ghost takes Scrooge to Christmas morning. The ghost sings a song about Christmas with the support of many Muppets. Scrooge can't understand how people of modest means can love and be happy. The pair eventually make it to Fred's house, where he and his wife, Clara, Robin Weaver, are hosting a Christmas party. The partygoers are playing a game similar to 20 Questions. The clues are an unwanted creature, and the answer is Scrooge. No one defends him. The ghost of Christmas Present escorts Scrooge to Bob Cratchit's house. Dickens and Rizzo go to clean the chimney. Inside the house, Miss Cratchit, Miss Piggy, is cooking and pigging out on chestnuts. Rizzo falls onto the cooking turkey. Bob Cratchit arrives at the home carrying his young son, Tiny Tim, Robin the Frog. The family is loving and very happy despite being poor. Cratchit gives a toast to Scrooge even though Miss Scrooge complains about the man.
I'll drink to Mr. Scrooge, even though he is odious and stingy and badly dressed.
Tiny Tim sings a song about joy. Scrooge watches everything with a new understanding. Tiny Tim coughs again at the end of the song. The ghost of Christmas Present begins to age, tells Scrooge that Tiny Tim will likely die soon. Scrooge doesn't want the spirit to leave, believing he has been changed. The bell tower rings for 3 a.m. as the ghost of Christmas Present departs and the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come arrives. The new ghost wears the shroud of death, and Scrooge is frightened. The ghost nods but does not speak. Dickens and Rizzo leave because they are scared. The spirit takes Scrooge to a place where a group of business pigs are talking about someone who died, and no one really cares about. He is then shown a group of Muppet street criminals dividing loot stolen from Scrooge's room following his death. Scrooge asks to be shown something less shocking. The ghost takes him to the Cratchit home. Tiny Tim has died. The chair and the cane are against the wall by the fireplace, and the family is suffering greatly. It is hardest on Bob. Scrooge is then returned to the cemetery. He sees his own gravestone. Scrooge wants to know if these events can be changed. He says he will change and grabs the spirit's robes. He awakens back in his bedroom. Overcome with joy at being alive and filled with the Christmas spirit, he vows to live every day with the spirit of Christmas. Dickens and Rizzo are knocked off the windowsill into the snow when Scrooge throws open the window. Scrooge asks Bean Bunny what day it is and is told it is Christmas Day. Scrooge pays the bunny to buy a prize turkey from a merchant. He plans to take the turkey to the Cratchit household. Scrooge leaves his house wishing everyone he sees a Merry Christmas. Scrooge encounters the two Muppets that were previously collecting for charity. He pledges a large donation and more in the future. One of the Muppets gives Scrooge a scarf. Scrooge sings about his new giving attitude as he buys more for the Cratchit family. He buys extra coal for the rat bookkeepers. Many children that watched this film thought the rats did something wrong because they got coal for Christmas. Scrooge travels to Fred and Clara's house, where he distributes presents to them. He also brings presents to his old schoolmaster, Sam the Eagle, and Fozziwig. Scrooge first scares Bob by saying he didn't come to work. Miss Cratchit lays into him before he says he is raising Bob's salary and paying his mortgage. Scrooge joins the family for a Christmas Day feast. Fred is present, but Clara is missing. Tiny Tim gets well in the future. The entire group sings about love. Conclusion. Wow, I have to say, this movie was pretty darn good. Several things aligned to make this movie better than average. The man most associated with the creation of the Muppets, Jim Henson, died unexpectedly at the age of 53 in 1987. Jim's son Brian was tapped to make his directorial debut for this film. Brian was an experienced puppeteer and voice actor. His previous experience made him an excellent choice, as stated in a BBC article. Quote, "It turns out that Henson was actually the perfect filmmaker to make the Muppets Christmas Carol, not just because he was the son of their creator. He also previously worked as a puppeteer and performer on a variety of darker movies using animatronics and puppets, including The Labyrinth, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and The Witches. I was able to bring the darkness that I had been working in and mix it with the comedy. That's the whole film, explains Henson. It's Dickens and Henson. Scrooge is the leader of Dickens. Kermit the Frog, as Bob Cratchit, is the leader of Henson. The two contrasts crash into each other. They are not particularly comfortable cohabitants. That's why it's so exciting, unquote. Another important aspect of this film is the music. Paul Williams, who you may know as Little Enos from Smokey and the Bandit in 1977, was plucked from a decade of drug and alcohol abuse to write the songs. The same BBC article states, quote, "The writer of The Carpenters' We've Only Just Begun and Barbra Streisand's Evergreen, Williams had worked on The Muppet Show and The Muppet Movie, earning an Oscar nomination for the latter's song Rainbow Connection, which is all the more remarkable since Williams struggled with alcohol and drug addiction throughout his life up until March 15, 1990. That's my sober birthday," admits Williams. "I'm 32 years sober. By the end of the 80s, my career had basically gone. I had misplaced the 80s. When you misplace an entire decade, you have earned your seat and you are officially an alcoholic. I had a reputation in Hollywood as an alcoholic and an addict. Hiring Williams to work on the song for the Muppet Christmas Carol proved to be a masterstroke, as he used his own recent spiritual awakening as a parallel for Scrooge's journey. All of a sudden, I was waking up in the morning with no craving. I found my tribe. I was comfortable and grateful in this world in a way I'd never experienced before," declares Williams. That's when I was asked to write a score about Scrooge, who is experiencing a spiritual awakening and a changed outlook. It was a perfect fit, unquote. Michael Caine told the producer and the director, quote, "I'm going to play this movie like I'm working with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I will never wink. I will never do anything Muppety. And I'm going to play Scrooge as if it's an utterly dramatic role and there are no puppets around me," unquote. Michael Caine is why this film, in my opinion, is the greatest Christmas Carol movie. World famous short summary: Shake It Like Shakespeare. As a technical note, references and citations are listed for each show on the site at classicmovierev.com. Beware the Moors. Hey, I appreciate you listening. Be sure and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Up here in the corner, there's a link to another video that I think you'll like.